Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sedona International Film Festival. I'm Carol Kahn. We are celebrating our 30th anniversary, and it's a very exciting time here around the festival. We would also like to thank Northern Arizona Healthcare, who is our primary sponsor, along with our hoteliers, restaurateurs, and all the volunteers who year after year support the film festival. We want to thank you and appreciate it greatly. And joining me now is Tim Powell with his film, A Weekend with Pablo Picasso. Welcome.
Thank you.
I didn't even get to ask you when we were just sitting here for a minute chatting. Is this your first time in Sedona?
No, I've been here, I would say maybe 5 or 6 times. I'm a real outdoors person, so I've been through here hiking, that kind of stuff. So.
And where are you from?
San Diego is where I live now.
Okay.
So I grew up in Southern California, lived in LA for 25 years doing filmmaking there, and then moved to San Diego for a little more relaxing version of the film business.
Awesome. And then Sedona, obviously, just such a beautiful place to come visit.
Absolutely. Yeah, even driving in, you forget.
Yes.
Even though I've been here a few times, and then just driving in, it's just spectacular. It's kind of evening sun, so beautiful.
It's interesting living here. I've lived here for 8 years, and somebody once said, living here for that long, sometimes you don't see the scenery anymore because you're used to it, right? So every day I try to note all the main pieces that I get to see, so because it's so beautiful.
Absolutely. Well, I brought my 360 camera with me.
Oh,
so
awesome.
my 360 VR camera. So in the off times of the festival, I'll be going out shooting some stuff. No real plan for it, but
Great.
I've done Zion, Grand Canyon, so I just have a lot of just beautiful 360
Awesome.
360 shots.
Beautiful. So tell us a little bit about the film.
So this film, the interesting thing about this film is it started out as a play, and it was written by Herbert Siguenza, and he wrote it, and he stars in it. It was originally a one-man show, one-person show, which did a couple of theaters around the country, mostly in the West here, Southwest. And then what happened was during the pandemic, when all the theaters were shut down, and San Diego Repertory Theater was looking for something, because occasionally they'll get shows in that are plays, I guess you would say, that they just stream them. And so this was the first one that they did during the pandemic. They couldn't open, none of the theaters could open. So the idea was to make a film of this play. That was the original idea. Make a film of this play, and then that would be set up for like pay-per-view or whatever for their theater patrons, and then for other theaters. They had a couple other theaters that were interested in running it also. So that's where it started. And then when we got the concept, the idea was, well, I don't want to just make something that looks like a play that we're doing on video. So we decided to make it more like a movie. So there were some real challenges with it, because it's kind of a direct address audience, kind of play, where since it's a one-man show talking to the audience, we had other characters, we decided to do some exteriors, so we wanted to turn it into something that looked a lot more like a movie. Still has a few theatrical elements in it, but that's the idea, was to turn it into a movie.
And so, is it Herbert, right?
Herbert, yeah.
And so is he obsessed about Pablo Picasso?
It's obvious that he did a lot of research.
Yes.
Because this was something that for him was a very special pet project. He does a lot of stuff, so it's he's busy all the time, like I am. But this one seems like it had a real special place in his heart, because he is pretty much channeling a very interesting character. That's the idea. It's Pablo Picasso in the 1950s, and he's playing Picasso, and he's talking about his art, where art comes from, where the inspiration comes from, art versus commercialism, selling out, that kind of a thing, all as Pablo Picasso. So it's quite interesting. And he's a painter. So all of the paintings that you see in the film, which is a lot of paintings, those are all Herbert Siguenza original paintings, in the style of Picasso. And he actually paints several paintings during the film, one of which, the Matador, is if you saw the film.
Yeah,
It's
no, and
it's
I
an
think we're
amazing.
gonna see it in the clip too. Like it's just amazing. So we do have a clip, and then I just want to say too, he transformed into Pablo Picasso. That I was just like, wait a second, like I was looking, and I kept like, I was looking at the hairline. I'm like, how did he do this? It was amazing. It really was. But let's take a look at the clip so we can talk some more about it. It's pretty cool. I tell you, when I was watching that, I was like, how did you do that? It was pretty good. I mean, like him painting, I was blown away by
Yeah,
that.
originally we thought, well, when he's doing the paintings, we should use like two cameras because we don't want to have him, repaint things twice or whatever. And we actually didn't have to do that because he's so good and so fast that he could do painting for one shot. If we changed the angles, he could just redo the same painting fairly quickly. So
So some of the things that were in there, the conversations that Pablo Picasso had, I mean, telling the audience and that kind of thing, and also, we were just talking about it, but like one of my favorite scenes too was when he was buying bread and it was being delivered, and he gave the guy some change, and then he was like, "Well, aren't you going to give me a check?" And he's like, "Yeah," and then he turns around and he goes, "They never even cashed a check. I got free bread, and all they wanted was a signature." It was like
and
really
it's
good.
interesting because he when he left the house, he put the check in his pocket because he knew that Fernand, that was the character, was going to ask for a check because of that signature. He wanted the signature more than the bread.
Yeah. I mean, so some of that information, is it all factual information that or was some of that just kind of incorporated into the dialogue that was not, that was fictional?
So it was thoroughly researched by Herbert, when he wrote it. And I can't say that it's 100% accurate or real, but it's pretty darn accurate. I mean, I had to do some research too when we were looking at the set. We patterned it off of his actual studio. We added a lot more stuff because his studio is a little bit more sparse, but his villa and his studio. So it's remarkably accurate, I would say. And the stories that he talks about in there, and some of the other paintings, Guernica and all that, those are all actual, events that were important to Picasso.
Right. I know in the opening scene when they had that ceramic, there was a ceramic vase that they had, and it was painted. So Picasso did ceramics, and it was just so real that I mean, it was simplistic, but and from the prop master, like putting it all together, or the set designer, it just looked like it just fit and looked, and I kept looking at it. That is like so real.
And yeah, he again, he looked at Picasso. He studied the Picasso paintings and adapted that style. Picasso, one of Picasso's famous lines is, it took him a lifetime to learn to paint like a child, and that's very, telling about his style, Picasso's style. And so for Herbert, he was sort of trying to channel that style, because Herbert is a painter in his own right, and he does sculpture and that kind of stuff. But of course, the trick is, how do you copy a master? How do you try to channel a master with something like that?
Right.
And I was blown away by how good he actually was, not only as an actor, but also as a painter.
Yeah, it was almost like he channeled him. I mean, it was like, which one's Picasso or Barrett or Pablo? I don't know.
Yeah, he might be more realistic as Picasso to maybe a lot of the people that knew him, because Picasso was a very eccentric character. And again, a big part of what this is about is Picasso going through these things, his family life, kind of balancing his family life, his art, that whole commercialism thing, trying different types of art. And then, of course, there's all this politics that's going on, as well. You know, he was Spanish, and then he moved to France, and that's where this film takes place, is when he's in a villa in France because of what was going on in Spain and the government and all that. So all of that is woven in.
Do you know if Herbert's style of painting, did it change after doing this? Or because he has his own signature work, was it emulating anything of Picasso's, or do you know if it changed at all after he did this?
You know, I don't know. It's interesting because he gave me one of the paintings after the show, and he said, "This I painted before the whole Picasso thing," and there's some similarities, you know, remarkable similarities to Picasso. So I don't know that he was that different, you know, before that.
Right.
But just some of the things like the Matador isn't necessarily the Picasso style. I'd say it's more of Herbert's style, but it still fits with that style because it is a very kind of simplistic type, you know, impression of whatever this image is.
Right, and I loved how he did the red paint in the clip that you had. You just kind of moved it away. I'm like, okay, that looks really easy. I could probably do that.
And that's a real time single take, you know, single
Oh my
take
gosh.
kind of thing, and yeah, pretty amazing.
Awesome. So the title of the film, A Weekend with Pablo Picasso, but if you had to spend a weekend with an artist of some sort, who would that be?
I mean, for me, photography is probably more my interest. So somebody like an Ansel Adams would be, you know, very much a big part of that. Or, you know, some of the current photographers, Mangelsson, people like that. My brother is a wildlife, also adventure photographer. So, but I've spent a lot of weekends with him, so that doesn't really count.
Well, maybe. Well, that's awesome. And when is your film going to be shown?
Saturday, 4:10 p.m.
Okay. And then if people want to find out more about the film, how could they find out about it?
So there's no particular website for the film. The film was sort of done, and you know, it's not that we aren't going to be doing more with it later, but at this point, they're just, you know, we didn't really have any plans, and so we decided we would try a little bit on the film festival circuit and see what we could do. San Diego Repertory Theater unfortunately went out of business.
Oh.
So, and they're the copyright owners for this. So, two of the three people, Todd Salovey, who's one of the other directors, he directed the original play and worked with Herbert on this as well. He was one of the creative directors at San Diego Rep, and then Herbert was an artist in residence. So they're sort of carrying the torch for that company now. So we just started talking about other things we can do with the film.
Oh, good. So then basically anybody has to come to Sedona on Saturday.
They have to be here Saturday
to watch
4:10.
Awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Tim, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for bringing your film. I'm really anxious to hear what people are talking about the film. We have great audiences, so I know you're going to get lots of really good questions.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And don't forget, we are live all throughout the day doing interviews here in the media room at Yavapai College. And also, if you are following us on social media and you're out there taking some photos, don't forget to hashtag SIFF30. And we will be back with more filmmaker interviews. Stay with us.